Jeffrey Miles of United Way. Welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start by just talking about the Connect4Care Kids resource that United Way offers, what it is, and why it's so important right now.
Yeah, no, thank you. The pandemic has really highlighted some issues with the early child care system. And even in the best of days, it was difficult to really understand eligibility, understand where all these providers were located. And so Connect4Care Kids really tries to bring all of that information, all of those resources into one spot. And now from the safety of your own home, from your phone or from your computer, you can check your eligibility for a variety of programs like Head Start and the state's GSRP or Great Start to Readiness program that the governor has been talking about so much. You can find locations right there on your phone as well. And then you can take the first steps in the enrollment process. And so the information that you give to us, we then share with providers who reach directly out to parents to complete that. And so we don't ask for any overly sensitive information, but enough to make sure that providers have an actionable lead.
And the acute needs that people have right now, as we end the pandemic and people go back to work, I think are kind of getting overlooked. I mean, we're talking a lot about people maybe not wanting to work because unemployment benefits are pretty good right now. We're talking about people who want to quit their jobs just because they don't want to go back to in-office work. But childcare plays a big part in those decisions, and maybe a bigger part than some of those other factors.
Yeah, no, and I think, if there's a silver lining here in early childhood is that it's really shown a light on the importance of childcare in our economic system. If you have an infant at home, you really have to make sure that you're meeting those needs before you think about things like return to work or adding hours. And so the ability to make those decisions with the information that is available is incredibly important. And that's really something else, though, that we really want to highlight. These are not babysitters. These are small businesses, and often women-owned and women of color-owned businesses. And so we think this is really given an opportunity to shine a light on that and make sure that they've gotten the same types of resources and support that other small businesses have had. But yeah, absolutely critical to make sure that we have enough adequate childcare for families as they return.
Yeah, and the choices that families have aren't just restrained by cost; they're also restrained by quality. And we, like other communities, still have a challenge in making sure that there are enough quality options available and that people know about them.
Yeah, no, and in Southeast Michigan, United Way is actually the early childhood support network. And so we have a partnership with MDE, and we are actually the quality rating and improvement arm in a 10 county region here. And so our whole mission is to provide access, but access to quality childcare. Nobel laureate James Heckman points out the return on investment there is about 13 to 1 for every dollar spent, because quality start in life really sets you on that trajectory to enter kindergarten ready to learn, to hit the third grade reading that we know has been a hot topic in education here as well, and then ultimately graduate and matriculate onto college or a career. And so a strong start with quality early childhood education is absolutely critical. And we have teams dedicated to working both one-on-one with providers, as well as trainings that we've moved all virtual, so that providers can be sure that they're getting their certifications and their licensing credits to maintain that quality.
Yeah, and it's tough as a parent, I think, sometimes to know what things you're supposed to be looking for that identify quality. What is a quality childcare facility, and what's one that's not?
Yeah, no, I'm a parent myself of a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And so my wife and I have been thinking deeply about this, and we made the decision to go back to care, but that's a deeply personal decision. And all providers should have a plan right now as far as what they're doing to address COVID. I think that's probably top of mind for everybody as far as quality. Safety is job number one. And so you want to make sure that you talk to your providers about what their plan is. But quality can mean different things to different people. You know, you want to make sure that you have both the curriculum that you know is helping kids develop, but also getting those social emotional supports. And so if you go to Connect4Care, we have a great list of questions that you can ask your provider. And if you ever have any questions about those safety things, make sure that you're talking to your pediatrician as well, and getting all of the information. But again, Connect4CareKids.org can really help you figure out some of those questions that you may want to look and figure out your own definition of quality. But the state has a very robust system, and predominantly a lot of the providers are above that 3-star. And that's really important as well. As we think about the expansion of the Great Start to Readiness program, we need to make sure that there's enough providers that are meeting that minimum threshold and going above and beyond so that we can facilitate the expansion.
Yeah. And what about the idea of connecting quality early care, preschool, with the K-12 system? We've been working for a long time here in Michigan to improve that early end of things and open up access to it for more families, but connecting it to quality education is another goal.
Yeah, no, and I think that's one of the things that's been highlighted by the pandemic is really the lack of infrastructure in the 0 to 5 space. K-12 has a very robust data infrastructure. We know where kids are at any time. We know how they're doing based on test scores and all of that. And that really doesn't exist. It exists in pockets, but not in a coordinated way. And so when you talk about the pre-K to K transition, really being able to transfer that data, that information along with those students from their preschool experience into kindergarten is quite critical. And we've been fortunate to partner with the Office of Early Learning and Wayne Risa here in Wayne County on really trying to figure out how can we do better at helping parents not only understand what their pre-K options are, but then what are those local options for kindergarten? You know, we really want kids to stay where, families to stay where they want to have education, and making sure that those options are readily available for them to explore.
And you touched on this a little before, but I want to talk a little more about the role that childcare facilities play in the small business community. You talked about the number that are owned and operated by African-American women in African-American communities often. That's another really critical part to try to think about in terms of sustainability and growth as an economic driver in our region.
Yeah, you know, at its core, early childhood education is a public good, and it's often subsidized by these private businesses. And so that often keeps wages down. And we really can't have a conversation about these small businesses without addressing the issue of wages. We need to do better as a community in supporting these small businesses. When you're competing with a fast food restaurant that can offer, you know, half again or twice as much as your hourly wage, you know, the average wage for an infant care worker in the state is about $10 an hour. We've all seen the signing bonuses that are being given out. And so now we're not only competing for people that are passionate about this, but we're competing for wages that far exceed what the sector can offer. And so, you know, we need to pay very close attention to a lot of the bills that are coming down now to make sure that we can start to address those wage inequities.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to give us an overall grade when it comes to childcare and early learning in Michigan, and I'm going to assume it's not an A. So I'm going to also ask.
It's not an F either.
It's not an F, right? But I'm going to also ask you to tell me what will move us closer to an A.
No, I think I would mark it as room for improvement. There has been an incredibly passionate group of individuals from the governor's office on down, and these providers have maintained their operations throughout the pandemic. And so first and foremost, they get an A+ as far as their ability to keep their doors open. You know, we were able to help facilitate essential workers getting care when they were the only ones that were eligible. And so A+ to the providers. You know, I think at the systems level, we do need to focus on, again, wages as the #1 issue to get people back in so that we have the workforce to meet this growing need. infrastructure, again, we have to do better with understanding the data that we have. There's a lot of areas that are moving to universal enrollment, so we'll start to be able to see how kids move through. But supplemental supports around marketing like Connect4CareKids.org and really facilitating those connections is also critical. And so I really think if we can focus on the infrastructure, the data systems that need to help us make those informed decisions, that would be a huge step forward.
Okay, Jeffrey Miles of the United Way of Southeastern Michigan. It was really great to have you here for American Black Journal. Thanks so much for joining.